Honorable Speaker, I also rise to support this particular bill and this very particular question of sharing of equitable revenue, because, Honorable Speaker, it's about time that we get to a practical solution, Honorable Speaker, on these shareables. Even as we look at the national cake and how we are able to share across the country, Honorable Speaker, we also need to ask the county governments on what exactly are they able to reach their targets in terms of their own source revenues. And just like my colleague Honorable Uda has said, there are counties, Honorable Speaker, that really do not require such. Looking at Nairobi, for example, as a county, Honorable Speaker, the amount of money they collect as own source revenue is actually enough to even fund even up to 5 counties by themselves. They do not need any cake from the national government and from the exchequer. Those are the debates that we need to be having. Although, Honorable Speaker, looking at the formula that has been shared by the Honorable Atandi, there has been a progressive growth, very progressive growth on exactly what goes to the devolved units. And as I said earlier, Honorable Speaker, we started from about 320 or thereabout, or 340. Then it grew gradually to about 385. It stuck at about 388. But now we are getting to about 415 billion shillings going to the devolved units. And this is a clear indication, Honorable Speaker, that progressively money is getting to the people. Money is moving from the central system and going to the villages, going to the county governments. But the question we need to ask ourselves, Honorable Speaker, is that, is this money really getting to the people like it ought to? Does it get to the right person in the villages? Does this money, Honorable Speaker, get to be used for the particular purpose that it's meant for in the Constitution, Honorable Speaker? Those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. And going forward, this House needs to think on how to come up with a legislation that perhaps we replicate what happens with NGCDF to the county governments. That even as we send money to the county governments, that we need to come up with a formula, perhaps on how this money should be spent. It should go down to the people, Honorable Speaker, with a vote, a particular vote. Say, for example, we should say that 40% of, not more than 60% of the amount should be used for recurrent expenditure or even salaries. Because, Honorable Speaker, even as we talk about 415 billion going to the devolved units, about 65% of that amount, Honorable Speaker, is used for salaries, is used for the recurrent expenditure. And sometimes when you look at their budgets, when they pass their budgets, you will see a huge amount of money, Honorable Speaker, meant for, they say, governor's office, which you really can't tell what it does. So it's about time that this House thinks through such structures. If we are able to replicate the formula that is used on the NGCDF to the county governments, then it will have a meaningful impact on the people. Because that is currently constituted, Honorable Speaker, we send a blanket check to them, we give them the entire amount, 415 billion, they have their own source revenue, they use this money, Honorable Speaker, the way they want. About 70% of it, Honorable Speaker, does not get to impact people. And that is the question we need to have. Even as we talk about the formula, we should find a way to have this amount going down to the villages in a particular way with a specific vote. So that, Honorable Speaker, we don't have a situation where some local leaders or the MCAs or these people from, I mean, the people in the county government, Honorable Speaker, they do not turn governors as demigods, that they have got to worship them, to kneel before them so that they can get development. And that is why we are fast-tracking the question of the World Development Fund, so that even the county assemblies are made to be autonomous. They do not need to rely on the office of the governor to have the funds. So, Honorable Speaker, even as I support this, I challenge this House to think through a legislation that will take this money to the counties with a particular vote, that 20% is for salaries, 30% is for this particular purpose, so that it's replicated like the NGCDF. You don't just let it be as it is, that a governor decides on, there is no cap on what you can't spend beyond whatever amount so that it gets to reach the people, Honorable Speaker. That is the discussion that we should be having. And also challenge the governors and the county governments that we are still struggling, even as we continue growing gradually. Now today we are at 415. We are still struggling, and not just us, even Kenyans who are watching us are also struggling to identify what these billions do in the counties. When you also, what this amount, huge amount of money, is whether this huge amount of money is felt in the counties. We are still struggling to understand. But again, as I sit down, Honorable Speaker, we challenge the counties like Nairobi. These are questions that we also need to discuss. Capitals, cities, or big cities like Nairobi, Honorable Speaker, Mombasa, and several other counties, do they really need this amount from the exchequer? Do they need to share because the own source revenue from these counties is actually enough to even fund even 5 other counties. We need to ask ourselves that challenge, Honorable Speaker. I was looking at the budget, the Nairobi County government budget, Honorable Speaker. I realized it's actually triple what Rwanda passes as a national budget. It's more than the budget of a whole country like Rwanda. The budget of Nairobi County as a city, Honorable Speaker. Looking at their own source revenue, Honorable Speaker, you will also realize it's too much. And it's quite enough, Honorable Speaker, that can be able to fund so many other county governments. So, as I support, Honorable Speaker, those are the questions we need to ask ourselves. Whether these big cities really require this national cake, number one. Number two, how we'll be able to replicate the law on NGCDF, on the act on NGCDF to the county government, so that as we send money, it goes with a particular vote and nobody will be able to spend this and this. And also the question of pending bills, we also tell them that this particular vote is meant for pending bills, so that you don't need to form committees. Because what they do, Honorable Speaker, immediately a new county government or a governor takes over, he forms a committee, that is also paid by the government, by their very own county fund, to see and review whether the predecessor had genuine pending bills. Honorable Speaker, there should be a system that checks that. It shouldn't be like you're forming a committee, you are paying them. After this committee, it's again rechecked by another committee. Those are the challenges, Honorable Speaker, that we have as far as devolution is concerned. But with those very many remarks, I still support. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Osoro. Allow me, members, to acknowledge the following schools before we continue with the debate. In the public gallery, we have Katimoril Secondary School from Kapenguria in West Pokot. We have Kianjiuni Comprehensive School from Maragua in Murang'a County, and Thome Primary and Junior School from Gilgil, Nakuru. On my behalf and on behalf of the House, we welcome the students, their teachers, and those accompanying them to the House of Parliament. And I've been requested by the member for Gilgil to give her 1 minute to acknowledge and welcome the school from her constituency, and indeed all the others.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for indulging me, and I want to take this opportunity to welcome the students and the pupils in the gallery. And Mr. Speaker, allow me to thank you and also the clerk's office, because this session and this parliament specifically has been a very good training ground for our students and our children. And it is important because some of the schools you see here, especially that school called Thome, is all the way near Eburu Forest in Gilgil. So for them to have the opportunity to come and observe the proceedings of this house is quite a privilege, and we hope that we can continue with the same. And I welcome all the students, Mr. Speaker, to know that it can be them who are sitting here tomorrow. It will be their chance. But for today, they observe and learn.